Hello, lovely ladies. Welcome back to Style Your Dreams. I'm so excited that you're here today, and I have an amazing guest for you today. So, if you love to travel, you have a travel bug in your system, or maybe that's one of your dreams to travel, you'll want to listen up to this conversation. So, I have Sarah with me, who's the owner of Bell and Bly Travel. And I met Sarah a few weeks back when I was in Sedona, and I found her story really intriguing, and her business was amazing and very in alignment with those of you who listen to my podcast or those of you who have been clients of mine that are now listening to my podcast. I think this would be a really fun conversation for you and have a lot of value for you. So, welcome, Sarah.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you. So tell me a little bit about, let's start with your business. So, how did you start this business? I love to talk about like what had someone fulfill their passions and what had you be passionate about this because I could tell you are. So let's start there.
Yeah, sure. It's funny. I really got into this business by complete accident.
Hmm.
And we first bonded over the fact that I also have a podcast, and some of my favorite guests have actually been they're hoteliers. They own hotels, and they'll say they're accidental hoteliers.
Yeah.
So I'm an accidental travel advisor.
Awesome.
And I say that because I loved travel my whole life. Like
Mm.
very strangely, my mom found an autobiography that I wrote when I was in first grade for an assignment. I wasn't like that ambitious doing it by
Yeah.
myself. And I wrote, I love to travel and talk Spanish in my like first grade
Oh
language.
my
And
gosh.
I had never been anywhere and I didn't speak Spanish yet. So it's just always been a thing. Then I traveled when I was 15 a little bit. I went to Germany for a summer and we had family there. And then I studied abroad twice in college. So it was just
Wow.
always a theme in my life. But I didn't know that it was a career. And I honestly didn't even know that travel advisors, we call ourselves advisors now, but
Yeah.
that travel agents of the past, I didn't even know it still existed because I grew up in the age of the internet and you book your travel online and all
Yeah.
of that. So I went off, I majored in finance, I did investment banking, private equity investing. I went to business school at Stanford. Then I got into tech and I was investing in tech companies. And then I worked at Uber. And then after working at Uber, I was like, I cannot work 80 or 90 hours a week for someone else
Right.
anymore. Like that game is over.
Yeah.
So I was actually just like, retired, fun employed for a little while, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And looking at all kinds of different businesses to buy, like FedEx routes and wedding venues and trampoline parks and all this stuff. And nothing really felt super authentic to me, but I just was looking. And in the meantime, I posted something on Facebook and I told my business school classmates that I was planning travel and I made a little website and decided to just do it for fun on the side. And I thought I was making the whole thing up. I didn't know there was an industry of travel advisors or any
Wow.
of that. And a few of my classmates who are like CEOs of tech companies that have billboards, you would know them, reached out to me back then, to plan a couple other trips. One of them I planned a honeymoon, the other one just a solo trip, like a sabbatical from work. And I was like, oh, this is kind of fun and interesting, but it's also really hard. Why is it so hard? And as I was kind of looking at those other business ventures and everything was just not fitting, I did a little bit of research one day on my back porch and found that there was an entire industry and there were all these people called travel advisors. And I reached
Wow.
out to some of them and learned about it. And I was like, okay, let me see if I try this for real, like full time for 6 months and see how it goes. And that was about 6 years ago.
Oh my gosh. That is such an incredible story. I feel like most people, I mean, the experts say, like, if you want to know where your passion lies, look at what you did when you were little,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
look at what you loved or look at what your passion was when you were little that maybe you never tapped into and you went a totally different route. But that's probably where you're meant to be, which I think is fascinating. You wrote that story and then here
Long
you
before I
are.
had actually even traveled. So
Right.
when I saw it, I had the chills. I was like, wow, what in the world?
That is so cool. And so now you've traveled all across the world.
I
How
have
many continents? What were you saying?
106 countries by last count,
Oh my
and all
gosh.
7 continents twice or more. So yes, I've been to Antarctica twice. and
Oh my
that makes me
gosh.
weird, I realize.
That makes you special, not weird. Oh my gosh, that's so incredible. So you've had these amazing experiences out of something you kind of fell into, which I love because, excuse me, I wouldn't have, until I met you, I didn't know travel advisors existed. In fact, some over the years, people have asked me, like, who plans your travel? I'm like, I do.
Mhm.
Like, I didn't know there was such a thing. And I'm sure that, I mean, it takes so many hundreds of hours for me to plan a trip.
Mhm.
Hundreds and
Yeah.
hundreds of hours of talking to people and Googling and figuring it out and looking at reviews. And the thing about reviews is they're not like you. You don't know who they are. That's what I always take them with a grain of salt. Like, you don't know who I am. You don't know, my level of pamperedness.
Yeah. You are
So,
hitting the nail on the head for sure. I have lots to
right?
say about reviews.
I always take reviews. I laugh at them sometimes. Like, you'll look at this five-star hotel and it has amazing reviews. And then there's three people that, like, the water temperature wasn't right or it was loud. And I'm like, okay,
No,
who
the
are these
worst is the
people?
people who book the 5-star hotels and then leave a bad review because it was too expensive.
Oh, I
Um,
love those.
and that happens a lot, and that brings down those averages. And it's not the same person. And then you also
Yeah.
have to remember with all reviews, it's usually people on the far sides that leave reviews,
Mhm.
either extremely happy or extremely not happy.
Totally.
So,
That's why I never write reviews. I just
most of
don't.
us who are busy professionals have an amazing time. Tell the staff thank you so much. Give them
Yes,
really nice tips. Leave and never think about it again. We don't have time to
right.
leave reviews.
And then I tell my clients, like,
Mhm.
I have a client who's about to travel to Slovenia, and we were just in Slovenia last year. And so I gave her our itinerary, and I'll tell people those things. But I'm not going to go on to every website and leave a review because,
Mhm.
again, like you're
Yeah.
saying, like, I don't have time for it. And also, yeah, I don't have
Even
time
those
for it.
personal reviews from friend to friend, we try to tell clients, like, that's wonderful. And we're glad that we have that itinerary from your friend and you think it sounds great, but let us learn about you and then personalize it to you. Because let's just use Africa as an example.
Yeah.
I get this a lot. Oh, my friend went to this lodge in Botswana 5 years ago and they loved it. We want to stay there.
Yeah.
Okay, well, give me just a second to tell you that 5 years ago, that lodge was great and it was on the water, but that part of the Delta is dried up. And one of my partners in Africa was there 2 months ago, and we're not sending anybody there because the wildlife isn't great. So there's an amazing new property, somewhere else in the Delta. It's even, more beautiful, more renovated, and the wildlife at this moment is great. So even reviews from friends, you have to remember, are like stuck at one point in time and they
Yes.
only knew what they booked, where we know like everything we book, all the feedback from all of our clients, all the feedback from our partners on the ground in country, all the feedback from other travel advisors. We have a really collaborative industry and we all share information. I could text 20 advisors right now who would answer me back for questions that I would have, right? So we get all of that kind of up-to-date information, which even if you have the same taste as your best friend, like a trip might be planned a little bit differently in the following year.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing you say also is that you are their best friend. So you are their best friend when it comes to travel,
When it comes to travel, yes.
right? Like, you are the trusted advisor, the person they're going to come to, and and I love that you really want to listen to people and customize a trip that's just special for them. Like,
Mhm.
what I'm hearing you say is you probably wouldn't duplicate that trip. Maybe aspects, but
Yeah, no, we've never planned the same itinerary twice, and in fact, we don't take on new clients without doing an initial call so that we can gather all that information and learn about them. Sometimes people are like, I don't have time for a call, and I'm like, okay, well, then you don't have time to make your trip amazing, and sorry.
yeah.
So,
Yeah. And so what are the most commonly uh requested places or experiences that you get?
it changes year to year because there are like
Okay.
trends, and of course, we had this big
Croatia.
explosion of COVID in the middle of no, Croatia's actually not the most popular destination for travel advisors at large. I think the most
Wow.
popular destination for travel advisors at large is Italy. Um,
Wow.
but the things like fluctuate year on year based on trends and other things. So, for example, this year Japan is much busier for us and for most other advisors than it ever has been in the past. And one reason for that is because COVID had Japan closed for so long and was one of the last countries to reopen. So then a bunch of people went right when Japan opened, and then they all tell their friends, and it sort of trickles
Mhm.
down. And so, for the first time this year, Japan is in our top 5 destinations. And
Wow.
then what else influences it? Because I can tell you what our top destinations are at the moment, but it's different for every advisor because we are advising our clients and all of our clients are so different. The
Yeah.
destinations will differ. So one of my very good friends who's a travel advisor, she's very like beach, sun, and sand. Like that's her expertise. Her clients
Yeah.
all live in Texas and they have kids, and that's the type of trip they want to take. Our
Yeah.
clients are executives and from my network in the past from tech and finance and stuff like that, they're all really well traveled. And so our map of what we plan is the world. And it's like, this year we're going to Japan, next year we're going to Africa, then we'll go back to Italy, to this part of Italy that we haven't been to before.
Yeah.
We're just a few days in London, and we want some of your really special experiences, even though we know London really well. So
Yeah.
so my book, right, would look different than another travel advisor's book, basically.
Got it. Got it. So right now, Japan is what's hot.
Japan is hot for everybody. That's a trend. Italy is always hot. We have the Olympics this summer in Paris, so we have a lot of that going on. For Bell Bly Travel, we do a lot of Africa. We're Africa specialists as well. So we've been recognized by a few different publications like Condé Nast and Travel and Leisure. Even though we plan the whole world, they specifically recognized us for Italy, Safari, it's very random, Ecuador and Galapagos, and Arctic, so Antarctica
Oh, wow.
and the Arctic.
Oh, wow. That's so cool. So you got into this business kind of by happenstance. Is that safe to say?
Yep, accidental for sure.
Accidental. And has it been what you thought it would be?
It has been everything I thought it would be and more. I honestly, I didn't even know it would work. I didn't know people wanted to pay for this service. And then, of course, now that I'm doing it, I'm like, oh my gosh, how could you not? If you're planning travel at a certain budget level, there's just stuff you can't book on your own. There's just stuff you wouldn't know about and that kind of thing. But it has been for sure everything I thought. So I'm an Aquarius. I like to bop around. I like really a lot of people telling me what to do. I only worked at every other position I had for 2 years. And then I would kind of move on. Some of that was, purposeful. Like when you're an investment banking analyst, that's a 2-year program. Then you do private equity for 2 years. Then you go to business school for 2 years. But still, I continued that trend until I started this. And now I can't even imagine myself doing anything else.
Yeah, I love that. And now you get everything that you want. You get the free time, you get to do business wherever you want, and you have a team. How many people are on your team, Sarah?
We are a 10-person team, which I think is
Amazing.
a great size. So we're really at scale now to kind of help the highest level clients, but we're still boutique and we all still pay attention. We all still talk about every trip every week on our team meeting.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's kind of, for me, it's like the perfect size.
I love it. Good. Excellent. And oh, I just had a question that eluded me. Where did it go? Oh, so you were talking about different budget ranges. So if someone were to hire you for their trip, what would be like a typical budget for their trip? Because, some people go on $5,000 European vacations and some people go on $100,000 European vacations. So what do you think your sweet spot really is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wouldn't say we have a sweet spot. We can do a lot of different things. And of course, that number depends on the number of people.
Yeah.
But and the destination, right? So like even within Europe, a Norway or an Iceland is going to be a lot more expensive than a Portugal, for example. But we kind of say that most of our trips start at $1,000 per person per day, because we are planning luxury travel, and that means mostly 5-star hotels. And it's not just that that the other hotels aren't good, but it's that our expertise lies in that. I visit them,
Yeah.
I inspect them. I'm friends with the owners, like actual
Yeah.
friends. And that helps our clients like benefit from our services and from our fee.
Mhm.
And so we don't want to charge anyone a fee or take anyone's trip on where we're not going to really add a lot of value. And then you think in Europe right now, like, the top hotels in Italy in the middle of high season, some of them are going for over $3,000 a night.
Yeah.
And so even, if you wanted to be at that level in Italy, 1,000 per person per day isn't even enough because that doesn't even pay
Right.
for your hotel room. So what we want to have is, if that's your level of hotel, then we want that as a base budget. And then we want some extra budget to plan these really special experiences. If you're okay with like high 4-star hotels or low 5-star hotels, or it's a Portugal or Slovenia or somewhere that's a little less discovered and still less expensive, then we can flex a little bit on that. But
Yeah.
it depends really. And then you go to like Africa, right? And your top safari lodges are um, about 1,500, maybe 1,300 in off season to $5,000 per person per night. Now
Yeah.
that includes all of your activities and your food and your wine and all of that. But it's just pretty expensive. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, I don't need the nicest safari lodge. But the cool thing about it is you're not paying that amount for just a really nice, beautiful room. You're actually on private concession, so you get to be closer to the animals. You have better
Mhm.
guides. They only put a few people per vehicle, so you're not crammed in. So your actual experience is what you're paying for there, and it's totally worth it.
I love that. So I just had this odd question. If somebody were, let's say somebody doesn't mind spending money on travel, but they can't afford to do a trip like that or let's say they could do a less expensive trip every single year, or save up a few years and do that like super luxury trip, which would you recommend?
Ooh, that's a really good question. You know, it they might not be working with us, but I think I would recommend that they travel every year because part of the reason I got into this business is because I truly believe in the power of travel. I believe that it, creates more tolerance for children. You learn so much. Their eyes are opened. Like literally lives are changed by certain trips.
Yeah.
You meet people you've never met before, like, run into someone who becomes your best friend, meet a
Mhm.
potential spouse. I mean, like travel just, it's like you hear these stories every day, day
Yeah.
in and day out. So maybe if you were doing more budget travel, you wouldn't be working with us yet, but I would say travel as much as you can. And then, maybe someday we'll work together.
I love that answer. And I couldn't agree more. Why I loved what you did so much is because we're big travelers, and I haven't met many people that travel as much as we do. My husband's like, we travel more than anybody I know. I'm like, I know, I love it. Let's plan the next trip. Years ago, I did this course, and you create your future. And I created my life and adventure. And it was all about how do I get to see the world and travel. Um, And one thing that I think is so valuable is so Stella, who's almost 12, has traveled with us everywhere we've gone in those 12 years. And her passport is impressive. And what's cool about that is like growing up, I hated history. Like, hated it. It was the most boring subject I could study, right? Because I'm a visual, experiential learner. And so I love history when I'm there, like when I'm in Rome or when I'm in these places. I love learning about their culture and their heritage and what happened. And what's so amazing to me and what I'm so grateful for, and I never take this for granted, is that, she's been to Paris 3 times. She's been to Slovenia. She's been to Italy 3 times. Like she's been in all these countries. She's been in Mexico. And a lot of times we'll find nonprofits even to and figure out what their needs are and bring them school supplies from the States or donate to them. Or so we try to give back to their cultures as well. And it's such an amazing experience because then when Stella's in school and they're learning about the Leaning Tower of Pisa, she's been there.
Hmm.
She's like touched it. She can, you know, relate to it. Or, when everybody's talking about the Olympics in Paris, she's like been there. She's seen them set it up. It's So it is. Um, and she's met friends all across the world. Oh, super cool story. We were in the south of France a couple years ago for both of our birthdays. And she loves to meet kids everywhere she goes and adults. And we were on the beach one night at this restaurant, at this beach club, and she met this little girl. And she came back to the table crying. And I was like, oh my
Oh boy.
gosh, what happened? And she's like, she doesn't speak English and I don't speak her language. And what a great problem, right? Like most kids never get to experience what that's
Mhm.
like. And you know, we were like, well, what do you think you should do? And she's like, I really want to play with her. And we were like,
Yeah.
well, what could you do? And she was like, I could make hand gestures and I could, you know, do this or do that. And they ended up playing all night together, which
Yeah.
was so cool, not knowing each other's language. So I love that you shared that part of it because I think that is the most special part of travel is, you know, in the US, we get so caught up in, we have our little bubbles, which I love my little bubble. Don't get me wrong, right? The people you hang out with and the places you go and the things that you do. But travel allows you to like learn about other people, have a higher tolerance for other people,
Mhm.
and learn their cultures and why they are the way that they are.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, we love to plan family travel for those reasons that you were talking about with Stella. And
Mhm.
a lot of times people are like, oh, I don't think my child is interested in history, so I don't know if we should go to Rome or we should do the Colosseum. No, we will do a gladiator school at the
Totally.
Colosseum, or we have an amazing guide who will do a scavenger hunt with your littles in the Louvre, right? And so
Mm.
you, as a parent, you get to see and learn and whatnot, but we have amazing people who are used to working with families and kids. And so it brings it alive for them. We even have one client who homeschools, and I love her because she homeschools, but she integrates travel into part of the curriculum. So
Yeah.
when they are going to learn about like ancient Roman history, we do a trip to Italy, and it's super fun for us. So I love that. And then I also like to say, like, we're talking about, because we have similar interests, like learning while you're traveling and learning
Mhm.
about other cultures and opening your minds and stuff. But I think travel really meets people where they are because like I said, we do calls with every client. So now I've done hundreds of them. And
Yeah.
sometimes I feel like my job is almost like being a psychologist.
Yeah, I was going to say
Um,
a therapist.
yeah, and so it's not everybody is traveling because they want to learn about other cultures, and that
Mhm.
is totally okay. Travel's going to give you what you need, right? So the most common things that people are coming for, because I always ask, what's the deeper why behind your travel?
Mhm.
Um, a lot of times it is learning and culture, but sometimes it's like I need to be in nature. I work in New York City, and I need to get away from the concrete and I need to see beautiful nature. So they're looking for, to find their happiness in awe and appreciation of beauty and nature.
Yeah.
Okay, we can do that, right? Or sometimes it's relationships. I want to spend this uninterrupted time with my kids or my spouse or my partner without, video games or being on our phones or our emails all the time because that's how we are 24/7 when we're at
Yeah.
home. So they're traveling for happiness in relationships. So travel can kind of meet you in all the different areas.
I love that. I love that. And listening to you talk, I'm like, I love how customized and I don't know, journey inspired, maybe I would say that your business is, because I've built my businesses the same way is it's not cookie cutter. And I think that's what people are used to
Mhm.
is the travel advisors from the past that are like, where do you want to go? Here are our recommended hotels, and here are our recommended uh, things. In other words, so my husband wins these award travel trips. So we travel a lot through those. And, you know, they have their list of our um, optional adventures and our optional tours. And we stay at their hotel and we do this and that. And don't get me wrong, they're amazing because they're also planning this trip for a group of people. They're
Right.
not customizing it. So I have to do the work to customize it to what my family's needs and preferences, et cetera, are. But I love that that's where most people are going now is I don't know, taking individuals on a journey to fulfill their soul's desire.
Mhm.
And that's what's really special about what you do.
Yeah, and we do lots of times when people are like, I don't know what I need to see or what I want to do. I've never been, and I just want to go and just plan the best of the best. And we're like, okay, great, but still tell us your interest, and we try to put some stuff in there. But
Yeah.
then, yeah, we love it when we get people with really specific interests. Like we just had a solo traveler really interested in classics and like Greek, ancient Greek history and the evolution of that. So we did a whole trip for him, almost a month long, from Turkey through Greece and then through Italy. And like, come even though the guides were Turkish, Greek, and then Italian, like, every piece knew what he was learning and seeing in the country before so that they could continue the story. So,
I
yeah.
love it. That's so great. Greece is on our list. Stella's been studying Greek mythology for 2 years. Like she's obsessed with Greek mythology. She
Yeah,
could tell you
Percy
everything.
Jackson books, like I'm like, I haven't read them, but I know of them because all the kids love them.
Oh
But
my gosh.
there's some mythology books for grown-ups now too.
Yeah. And she
So,
loves this podcast called Greeking Out, which is
okay. I'll have to listen
incredible
to
for kids. So if you know any kids going to Greece, Greeking Out podcast is hilarious. And they really do, make the stories so engaging for kids. But so that's on our list in the near future, Greece. Anyways, so what do you, I mean, I could talk about travel for a million years. Um, what do you wish you knew in the beginning of starting your business that you know now? Or like,
that.
what would you wish that someone told you before you started your journey? Like, is there any advice you would have given and I don't want to say your younger self, but your baby entrepreneur self?
Gosh, that's a really good question. Um, well, I did give this advice to myself probably at the time because it's
Yeah.
sort of one of my life mantras. So I would give it to myself again. But it's worth sharing. I just I really think the answer is always no if you don't ask. And so it's sometimes I'm not everyone's favorite person to deal with in the industry because I'm like, why do we have to do it like that? Can't we change this? Most of the time, people really like it. We won Most Innovative Travel Advisor at
Awesome.
Virtuoso Travel Week a few years ago, which is like Oscars. So people like that, like pushing and lines of
Yeah.
questioning. Because I came from a different industry, right? So I think about things a little bit differently. I'm like, what do you mean I can't do this? Why not? And they're like, you're right. Why not? um, and the travel industry is really evolving. There's a lot of young people in the industry now, but for a long time there wasn't. And so it's a lot of old stuff still.
Yeah.
So just to explain that, I think the answer is always no if you don't ask. Just means like you are in the same place if you're too scared to ask someone, hey, would you consider working with me even to get a client? Or
Mhm.
I think I want to, do this a little bit differently. Is that okay? I know this is like technically the rule, but what if I tried it like this? So I really just, put yourself out there and ask for what you want or what you need.
Oh my gosh, I love that because I'm just like that as well. Like I'm always like, why do the rules have to be like that? Like, let's move this around a little bit. Have you thought about it from this perspective? Um, so I love that you're like that. In fact, Stella was laughing at me the day that I met you, and I'm like, hey, maybe you should be on my podcast. She's like, you kind of like pushed her into being on your podcast. And I'm like, but I mean, I thought it would be interesting and people it would be really valuable. So why wouldn't I just ask her? Because I
Yeah,
believe in being bold and asking for what you want. And
I
I
love her.
agree
She's
with
so
you.
funny.
I know. She literally was like, did you really just, I was like a first date and you just jumped in asking her to be on your podcast. I'm like, she could say no, right? Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
get
When
no's
I
all the
started
time.
my podcast too, I had this long list of people that I thought, oh, eventually I want this person on my show.
Yeah.
And after like 3 weeks, I was like, this is dumb. I'm just going to ask them all right now. And I did. And they all said yes. And so now basically nobody says no to our show because I can be like, I had this person and this person and this person. These are like celebrities in the travel
Yeah.
industry. And they're like, oh, okay. Yeah, I think I can make time for that.
I love it. I totally agree. And I think that's the only way to get anything that you want, right? Is having courage to I don't know. No for most people just means like you're rejecting me, right? Like if you say no, you're rejecting me. My life is terrible. But the truth is, they're just saying no to whatever you asked of them in that moment. That doesn't mean that they're a no forever. It means a no for right now. And oh my gosh, you just reminded me of this story. Have you heard of Jamie Lynn Kerma's book Worthy?
No.
Okay, she's amazing. She has a new book out called Worthy that she's promoting. And she talks about she owned It Cosmetics and sold it for $1 billion.
Awesome.
She's
Good
amazing.
for her. High five.
Right. And in her book, which I love, 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 is she talks about like how many times she heard the word no. She heard it 1,000,000 times. In fact, she wanted to be on QVC and they told her, absolutely not. You are not for us. Like over and over and over and over. And she was about to go bankrupt. Right. And then she kept, it's okay. Like the no didn't mean anything about her worthiness or about the product even. They were just saying no to whatever. You have no idea what people are saying no for. And
Yeah.
sometimes
I mean,
I'll even ask them like, what
same
are you saying no
story as
to?
same story as I'm blanking on her name right now. Elizabeth, no, the founder of Spanx.
Oh yeah, Sarah
Oh my
Blakely.
gosh, Sarah Blakely. Yeah, same story for her. And then have you ever listened to How I Built This, the
Yes.
podcast? Oh my gosh,
Love
love
that
that show.
podcast.
And some of those shows you're like, are you serious? Like Kendra Scott, didn't she go like
Right.
she went door to door with her baby
Right.
trying to sell her jewelry to different jewelry stores in
Right.
Austin or something? And another one, the chicken salad chick episode. I'm like, I'm sorry, you did what? You
I
went
haven't
door to
heard
door
that
selling
one.
chicken salad with your baby
I'm
in
gonna have
your
to listen
arm?
to that one.
And eventually, like the food people called her. They were like, you can't, that's not like approved. You can't do that. And then the same thing. No, every investor, nobody's going to go to a restaurant that's only chicken salad just a
Right.
million times. So people
Right.
don't, they just see entrepreneurship and they're like, yeah, it's so easy and smooth sailing. Read Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, even Phil Knight from Nike. The walls he had to pound his head against over and over again. So.
Yeah. I mean, it's not for the faint of heart. And I think I love those stories. Those stories fill me up so much because I feel like, so I've been an entrepreneur for 22 years now. And it sucked in the beginning. But it turned out like it always turns out. You just stay the course and it will turn out. And if you believe in yourself and you believe it's possible, you just need a little bit of faith. You don't need a ton of faith. Like just have a little bit of faith and keep taking the action and don't let no tear you down and don't let no mean something about your value because it doesn't.
It totally. I would also say like another piece to that might be very helpful for entrepreneurs is to don't take no for an answer, but also have a vision of where you want to go because, there's a lot of I'll just say most other travel advisors have a terrible work-life balance because they haven't put systems and people in place to help them. Because probably they didn't have it in their vision that they wanted this business and they wanted XYZ and they wanted this is for their life to look like. So your vision shouldn't just be for your business. It shouldn't just be like, oh, I want to make $1 million or $10 million or $1 billion. It also needs to be what you want your life to look like.
Yeah.
So because I had both because I had done business before and I had gone to business school and got taught that I should do all these things. I was like, okay, I want this, but I also want my life to look like this. And so how do I have to do it differently to build that?
Yeah. Yeah. I think balance is so important. And that's one of the greatest things that owning your own business can give you if you will allow it to, right?
And almost no one does. I
And
always say
almost
people
no
are
one
like,
does.
oh, if you love your job, you never work a day in your life. That is BS. If you love what you do and you're an entrepreneur, you work 24/7.
Yeah.
And most small business owners, right, don't actually allow themselves to get over that hump or aren't good at delegating or building a team or any of that.
Yeah. Agreed. And the quicker you can get support, the faster your business will flourish and the more balanced you'll be able to get, which is amazing. I'm a big advocate to throw money at problems.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, a lot of travel advisors will tell me like, "Oh, I just don't have the personality to delegate." And I'm like, "No, I promise you it's not a personality.
it's not.
It's a learned skill and you can
Yeah.
learn how to delegate. So we can do it. I can help you."
Right. Oh my gosh, delegation's my favorite word. Like if someone asks to help me with something, I just laugh. I'm like, I will never turn you down. Like
Yeah.
I will, someone, wants to carry my groceries, even though I'm capable of it. Yeah, I'm not going to turn you down. Like, yeah, I'll let you contribute to me. Do it.
Yes. For sure.
I love it. And being resourceful. Like right now, I've been wanting to do more stories on Instagram. Stella's getting paid to do them for me.
Amazing.
So you
Wonderful.
also have to be resourceful. Like you might know a college kid that you could pay a lot less than an agency or spending your time. So I'm like, hey, it's the future. Do you want to learn how to do stories? Then I'll pay you. And she's like, sure. And then I'm doing more stories because she's always with me. So she can
Hmm.
just like quickly do a video.
Yeah.
So be resourceful.
True. And I think it's also, some people don't think of, well, I have X number of dollars to hire an assistant to do my social media, but I really like doing the social media. And they don't think that they could actually use that same number of dollars to hire somebody to do their laundry or
Oh,
do their
totally.
meal prep or whatever, right? It doesn't have, if you're a small business owner like us, right?
Mhm.
It doesn't have to be like allocated only into the company. If you like what you're doing in the company, but you hate doing laundry, maybe
Mhm.
you you spend the money for somebody to help around the house, right? So it just
That's an
kind of depends.
excellent point. That's an excellent point. Stella always tells me I need a nanny. Not for her, but
No,
to get stuff done around the
I
house.
have one. I have one. I always saw my friends who had nannies who have kids. I don't have kids, but my
Yeah.
friends with kids, they would have these nannies and the nannies are amazing. And they like, in
Right.
addition to taking care of the kids, also do meal prep or whatever else.
Yeah.
I'm like, I need a grown up nanny. I don't know
Totally.
where to find one or what that is, but I need one. Like
Yeah.
maybe there's someone who's like a nanny for kids part time and then they'll be a nanny for me the rest of the time. But no,
Totally.
I found someone. She's not a nanny. She's a personal concierge and there's actually a school for this and she has
Mm,
multiple clients so I don't have to employ her full time and
yeah.
she's a godsend.
I love that. I love that. That's so awesome. So yeah, outsource. That's my word. Outsource. Outsource, outsource, outsource. I love it. Okay, and then where has been what was your most epic trip? Like trip of a lifetime. I know you've traveled a million places, but trip of a lifetime.
Okay. Last year I went to Antarctica for the second time. I have to say
Okay.
this is the most epic because it was like actually crazy. We flew from South Africa on a private Airbus to
Okay.
Antarctica, landed on an ice runway, and then stayed in camp for 6 nights. It was actually supposed to be 5 nights, but when you're flying to Antarctica and you have to land on an ice runway that has to be exactly within a temperature band and all of this, you have to be flexible. So I had to show up in Cape Town, which is no problem. I love Cape Town, a few days early and just be ready to go anytime. So we left a day early because of weather
Yeah.
conditions. But yeah, you're like on this private plane, sitting in first class, land on an ice runway, in your summer clothes, and then before you land, put on like massive winter clothes. And then we stayed in a land camp. This is a really like not very often visited part of Antarctica for tourists. Most tourists take a boat from South America, which is
Okay.
also, I've done it as well. It's also a fabulous way to see Antarctica. But this was just so different. So we stayed in these kind of futuristic looking, like heated huts almost,
Okay.
with beds, and it was all fine and nice inside. Not like a Four Seasons, but like,
Yeah.
great luxury for being on ice, and did mountaineering every day. So we summited a different mountain every day, which was way less hard than it sounds because there only the little tips of the mountain stick out of the ice. So it was like ice crampons, like walking to the mountain and then take off the crampons, which are like spikes on your boots, take off the spikes and then climb the rest of the top of the mountain. Do another one every day.
Oh my gosh. And
And
so,
yeah, flying back too, then we had the mayor of Cape Town was on our plane on the way back because they had flown him up for the day to kind
yeah.
of be able to check it out. And then he flew back with us when we were heading back.
And so what made it your favorite, most epic trip? Was it because of the beauty?
Yeah, I
or
mean,
the
I'm not gonna
adventure or
say it
what?
was it I'm not even gonna say it was my favorite trip, but it was definitely the most epic because, like, when
Mm,
you get to fly private from Africa to Antarctica and then land on an ice and everything was just so wow. Like, at this point, I've seen almost everything, right? Like, that tree in
yeah,
New Zealand looks a lot like that tree in Western
yeah,
Canada or whatever, right?
yeah.
Um, and so that was a trip that was really like, wow, this is something I have never done before.
That's so cool. And does it ever, I'm assuming the answer is no, but I'm going to ask it. Does it ever get old to be on the
No.
road?
No, and it doesn't. And I sometimes I get really tired. Like I just got back from basically a 6-week whirlwind. Like when I saw you, when I met you,
Yeah.
I had just come back from a conference in Orlando, 2 weeks in Italy, 4 nights in New Mexico, 4 nights back in Houston for Mother's Day to see my mom, then flew to Abu Dhabi, went to Dubai for a conference, and then went to Kenya for a week. And then took 50 hours to go from Kenya back to Sedona.
Oh my gosh.
And I met you like 3 days later. So I get tired, but it
Yeah.
doesn't ever get old. Like
Oh
I'm
my gosh.
excited every day.
That's so cool. Awesome. So, in closing, I want to my intention really is to inspire women in particular. My passion is inspiring women to be their best, to live their best lives, to go after their dreams. And I would say after this conversation, I'm really present to like, if you have a dream, you need to just jump. Like, don't worry about what's going to catch you. You will get caught, right? Like, there will be a net, there will be, the ground will arrive. But I see too many people that are not doing what they love to do from day to day. And this is one short, beautiful, extraordinary life that we have. And so go for it and you will find your way. Don't you agree, Sarah?
I do. Definitely. I think maybe there are some people like me though that have like a passion that they really like, but they
Yeah.
don't realize that it's their dream and can be their dream career. And for me, it was because I didn't know it existed.
Yeah.
So I maybe even before jumping in, if you don't know what your dream is, spend a little time like being curious about what you're interested in
Yep.
and not necessarily. So my mindset was like, travel isn't a career. I was an investment banker, right? I
Hmm.
had a 4.0 in finance. Like I got the best job. Like, well, being a travel agent, that's not a
Right.
career. I'm going to tell my Stanford business school friends that I'm a travel agent. Like, no, I had an ego to get over,
Hmm.
right? Because I didn't know it existed, and I had this view of what it used to be in the old days. Now I'm like your wealth manager, but I'm just way more fun, and so
Yeah.
it's different. But uh, I almost didn't allow myself to be curious about whether it existed, whether it was interesting, whether I could do something to
Yeah.
it with it. So maybe just be curious and like explore what you're interested in.
Yeah.
There's honestly a market for everything. I met a guy
Agreed.
in um at this like event for digital nomads one time who has an online course to teach people how to swim online, and he makes money. So if he can make money teaching people how to swim online, you can find a way to do something with your interest. You just have to be curious about it.
I totally agree. I love that you said that because looking back, when I started my styling business 22 years ago, I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. I just knew I didn't want to work anymore. And my friends would giggle and be like, "Are you going to marry some rich guy?" And I'm like, "Well, maybe, but I've got to figure that out before, like what I'm going to do with my life." And I made a list of what I loved, and it included I loved shopping, I loved clothes, and I loved empowering people and making them feel great about themselves. And one day I was like, I wonder if I could make that into a business. And back then,
Yeah, nobody knew, right?
there was no such thing like it, right? There was no what not to wear. There only the Hollywood celebrities had personal stylists back then. There were no smartphones. There was no nothing. And I created and you there was no inner I wasn't like Googling, hey, how do I there was no name for the career, right? So
Right.
so I made it up and, walked forward every day in like, what could I do with this? How could I turn this into a business? And then just did. Right. And now you look around and like there are personal stylists everywhere. And, you know, so it's yes, find what your passion is, and you can make money doing something with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I really believe in that. Like, there's no better time than right now.
Yeah, I agree. And also, don't be discouraged if you're in an industry that has a lot of other people. There are jillion travel advisors out there, and I mentioned before we're friendly with each other. We're not competing with each other, because someone who likes my style, who wants to plan at the level that we plan at, is totally different than someone who's trying to plan at either a different level or maybe a different style even.
Yeah.
Like you're looking for somebody who matches your style, just
Yeah.
probably like stylists are.
Totally. Totally. I love that. Well, Sarah, it's been awesome talking to you. Thank you for coming on the
Likewise.
podcast, and
Yes,
thanks for
thank you for
sharing
having me.
your vision and your expertise. And I love travel. I love it, love it, love it. And I hope people reach out to you and have you plan a trip for them, or just get inspired to take the next trip and learn more about themselves through travel. So if people want to get to know you more, how can they find you?
Yes, we would love that. So a few different ways. Just our website, bellandblytravel.com, is where you can fill out a form if you're interested in working with us. You can follow me on Instagram at Sarah Goes Global. That's Sarah with an H. And that's all my kind of personal travels. And then I also host the top podcast on luxury travel, and it is called Luxury Travel Insider. So you can listen to that wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, it's been so great getting to know you better doing this podcast. And I hope to see you soon in Sedona.
Yes, we'll be back in the fall. See you then.
All right. As a thank you for listening to the podcast, I have included down in the show notes a free downloadable PDF for to increase your mindset so that you can live high vibe. It's 10 simple steps to live high vibe each and every day. Things that you can do when, I don't know, things happen that turn your vibration down. There's different techniques that you can use depending on how bad it was, right? So I invite you to download the free PDF. You'll love it. It'll change your life. It's my gift to you. And if you love this podcast, I would really, really appreciate it if you would take 1 minute and give us a 5-star review and subscribe and tell your friends, because that's how we grow, is we give back to each other, and I believe in kindness. So thank you for being kind. Thank you for being here, and I'll talk to you next time. Have an awesome day. That's super high vibe. Okay, see ya.